All right. Great morning, superstars. How is everyone out there this morning? This is your girl, Taria Hodge, with another fantastic and exciting episode of Social Media Saturdays. And as you can see, I have none other than Mindset Mastery mentor Suzan Hart with me. She's our special guest this morning, and we are going to have an awesome conversation, and we are still talking about story. So it's going to be story. We're talking about speaking. We're talking about commanding the stage, whether it's a virtual stage or it's a live stage. So if you've ever had questions about how you could command the stage fearlessly, this is the place where you need to be this morning. And I see that Shakisha is out there this morning. Great morning, Shakisha. How are you? Thank you so much for jumping on and tuning in to Social Media Saturdays. All right, and let me just make sure that we have everything rocking and rolling, because I tell you, Suzanne, I'm excited and I can't wait, to have or continue, because we've been having the conversation. And before we get into the meat and potatoes, I just want to let everyone know that earlier on this week, Wednesday, Suzanne and I, we had the opportunity to do a live training, a virtual live training on how to magnetize and monetize the virtual stage. And can I just say, OMG, okay? Just OMG. It was absolutely amazing, to see people come. They brought their questions, and just being able to, to just pour into them, like I said, how to command the stage, because things are changing. It's always constantly changing. And I think 2020 is going to go down in history as the year of change. So if you are out there and you have ever, had to take the stage, and I have some stories that I like to share too. But if you've ever had to take the stage and you felt so nervous and you completely didn't know what to do, and you would like to know how to get over that, then this is the place for you this morning. And if you also find when you do take the stage, you find yourself focusing more on what it is you're supposed to say rather than focusing on your audience, then definitely we have some great things for you this morning. So before we get started, let me just go ahead and in true Social Media Saturdays form, welcome everyone to the broadcast. And if this is your first time joining and tuning in to Social Media Saturdays, Social Media Saturdays is a live online broadcast platform dedicated to helping entrepreneurs, business professionals, but specifically coaches and consultants leverage the power of social media in their business. And I like to call it, like, I'll help you make your brand shine online. And when I talk about shining online, I talk about 5 specific things: how to show up powerfully and consistently, how to hone in on your ideal client, how to make an impact and influence, nurture, and then also create an experience around your brand. And like I said, if you're looking and you're wondering who the beautiful lady is next to me, her name is Suzan Hart, and Suzanne is Mindset Mastery Mentor. She's my Mindset Mastery Mentor, and we have been actually peeling back the layers of one of her Mindset Mastery principles, which is communication. And like I said, today we're going to have a conversation on how to fearlessly command the stage, whether that stage is a virtual stage or it's a live platform. So if you're out there, before we get started, do me a favor. I always ask this: drop us a line in the comment section and let us know where you are watching from. Okay, so shout out to all my superstars who are hailing from the DMV area. So if you are in the DMV, just go ahead, drop me a comment and let me know, Taria, I'm in the DMV and I'm watching you this morning. Or if you're watching from any other city and state across the US, I see that Deborah has just jumped on this morning, and Deborah has joined us. Great morning to you, Deborah. Make sure that you put in the comment section where you are watching from, okay? Or if you're watching from anywhere across the world. So, Suzanne, one of the things that I absolutely love about Social Media Saturdays is we have superstars that tune in from all over, from Italy, England. We have superstars that join us from South Africa. They join us from all island nations inside of the Caribbean. So one of the things I always like to know is just how far, the show is reaching and touching others. So do me a favor, let me know where you are watching from. And then last but not least, in the comment section, share with us who you serve in your business and how you serve in your business. Now, I say this every broadcast, but because it's one of the things that I absolutely love to do on Social Media Saturdays. I love to know who is connected with the platform. And one of the things that actually happens here is the virtual networking. So the virtual networking happens when we're live, and it also happens when the episode is over. But here's the thing, we won't know who you serve and how you serve in your business unless you tell us. So in the comment section, go ahead, drop a line, let me know who you serve in your business, how you serve in your business, and how we can connect with you. And so if you have a Facebook business page, go ahead and drop the link to your Facebook business page in the comment section below. Or if you don't have a business page and you would like for us to check out your website, make sure you drop a comment in the comment section and let us know your website. And so I see Deborah is out there. Deborah is saying, hi, Taria. I'm watching from Chicago. And I see that we have Audrey shouting us out from the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. Thank you so much for jumping on. And Deborah is saying, I serve public speakers by helping them get more speaking engagement. So here you go, guys. If you're out there and you are at this time, you are wondering how you can get more speaking opportunities, Deborah is letting you know that she serves by helping speakers get more speaking engagements. So Deborah, thank you so much for that. And don't forget to put in the comment section how we can connect with you, Deborah. Okay, and so what I am going to do, I am going to jump right in to our topic today because I am super duper excited. And then I also have some free gifts that I'm giving away this morning, and I can't wait. So guys, I hope that you are ready. I hope that you have your questions ready because like I said, Suzanne is here and she is ready to serve this morning. So one of the things that we are talking about, Suzanne, on this particular broadcast is how to command a stage, whether it's a virtual stage or it's a live stage. Okay. And I do have to share very briefly, one time that I actually took the stage, had a presentation to do, and I was so nervous. It's kind of embarrassing to be able to admit it now, right? But I was so nervous that I actually wrote the notes on my hand for my presentation. Okay.
I have done that.
Wrote the notes, but what I didn't think about is that I would be so nervous and my palms would be sweating, okay? And I sweat off all the notes, off of,
Hopefully you didn't wipe your shirt or your dress.
Oh my gosh, no. I didn't even have the opportunity to do like this because all the notes was gone. I looked down and I was mortified. I was like, okay, what do I do now? Because the notes were on my hand and now they're gone, right? So how many of you out there could identify with that, being able to take the stage or had the opportunity to do a presentation, do a talk, do a training, right? And then you were so nervous, that you absolutely did something, crazy, something unheard of. But the reason why I'm sharing that, because one of the things that, I later learned is that I was so focused on my presentation rather than connecting with the audience. Okay. So that was my big learn, there to make sure that, I keep connection in mind. Okay. So I'm going to ask you, Suzan, for you to share. Did you ever had a time that you were so nervous that when you had to take the stage, and how did you overcome it?
Well, first of all, I am so excited to be here, and thank you, Turia, for inviting me out. And have I had a time? Yeah, absolutely. For those of you who don't know me, I had an embarrassing moment when I was a little girl, which totally shut me down. So I went through high school, college, and if you're Canadian, university, without ever raising my hand and avoiding any class that included public speaking. So I've written more term papers than probably anybody could, because that was my way of just avoiding anything that had me get in front of an audience. However, I remember finally when I started my job, I had to do this presentation. Now, I used to live in the province of Quebec, so Quebec's a bilingual province.
Uh-huh.
And not only do you have to present in English, but sometimes you have to present in French. Now, I've forgotten all my French, but back then I had to do this short little presentation in French. And I got up in front of the audience and froze. All my French language lost me. I wanted to speak in English, and I lost every word of French I knew. It was awful. It was awful. And you could see the audience being totally mortified for me. And I didn't want to speak anyway because I was so afraid. And it was almost like the incident that got me not speaking was happening again. And then finally, I had a mentor who encouraged me to take the stage. And to this day, Turia, I remember taking the stage, hanging on to the podium for dear life. And I always say to people, all I heard was my heart pounding in my head.
Wow.
And throughout the whole time, I kept wondering, why is my heart in my head? And I can't remember what I said to this day. It was probably about 5 minutes. It felt like 30.
Yeah.
Stage, like, so glad that was over. Don't know what I said. And I remember my mentor saying, you did fantastic. Keep practicing. I think those were just words of encouragement. I don't know. So yeah, absolutely. And I would get there with my cheat sheets, my cue cards, my papers. And I did exactly what most, new speakers do. I was so caught up in getting things right and getting the content perfect and looking good and not embarrassing myself. And it's so much pressure that you actually forget about the audience because suddenly it's all about you. And I don't mean that in a mean way, but that's what happens. It's all about us because we're so concerned about being embarrassed that it's like, yeah, this presentation's all about me. I got to look good. And I don't.
I could definitely, identify, with that. And I get it, because once you have an experience like that, and like I said, speaking in public has been one of the things that absolutely terrified me. And one of the things that I found myself saying, or actually found myself doing, right? And I'm going to ask the audience out there, how many people have actually, found themselves doing these things, or, they found themselves saying these things. Like if you have a presentation, one of the things that you find yourself doing is that you're hiding behind a podium. Okay. And it's like that podium gives you the shield between you and the audience. Okay. So you actually hide behind the podium and you stand behind the podium and you're actually afraid to command the stage. So if that's you, right, just go ahead and say, I've felt that way before, because that has definitely, been me. I've had times where, took the stage and I would not get from behind that podium. Also, how many of you, especially at this time now where everything is moved to virtual and we're doing a lot of online presentations, and then you find yourself when you're online that you are hiding behind your camera. And when I say hiding behind your camera, you're doing a presentation, you have the PowerPoint. Someone actually asked me this question yesterday. Okay, as we're preparing for them to do their presentation, I'm going to have PowerPoint slides. Do I have to turn on my camera? That was the actual question. And then the answer to the question is a resounding yes. You do have to turn on your camera. No more hiding behind your PowerPoint slides. So if that's you, okay, then I want you to go ahead and just let us know that yes, sometimes I do hide behind my PowerPoint slides. And this is the big one, okay? You have convinced yourself that you are the behind the scenes person. And I have to say, Suzanne, that, has absolutely been me for years. Okay, for years, I would, convince myself and convince others very well, right? That I'm the behind the scenes person and I could provide the support. And I would literally do any and everything not to get on the camera. So if that's you out there, okay, then I want you to go ahead and share that into the comment section. So I've been, at all three, stages and all 3 points. Okay, so I definitely understand and I know how terrifying it could be when it comes to presenting. So Suzanne, I'm going to ask you for those people who still feel a little fear, right, of presenting and being seen and still want to hide. How did you overcome your fear?
Slowly. But I think that the thing is, there was two pieces. One was I committed to giving, like, just doing it. That was the first thing, and doing it all full with all my fear, all the noises in my head, all the chatter, all that stuff. So I think the first thing is you got to take that leap of faith and trust. But the second thing was, this is what I think most people don't know, that speaking is an art. It's a craft.
Mm.
And most people think that great speakers just take the stage and they speak and they're just comfortable in front of the room and they're good speakers. Well, that is the furthest thing from the truth, I learned, because what I did was I hired a coach. And my coach taught me a simple talk structure.
Mm.
All the talk structure, my safety net. And that safety net just guides what I am supposed to say when. How do you open a presentation? How do you invite the audience into the presentation? How do you engage the audience? How do you set up your topic? How do you find the lessons that you're going to teach? It does the whole thing.
Yeah.
And for me, what began to happen was I had this safety net. And so whenever I was writing a presentation, I'd be, okay, I got to get my 3 questions. I got to welcome here. I got to take the stage. I got to stand here. I just followed the talk template. And that took a lot of pressure off, because it was kind of like, now I know what to do with myself when I'm in front of the camera or when I'm in front of a room. I'm not winging it anymore. So that was the first thing. I think the second thing was I learned another structure, which was a storytelling structure. And again, working with a coach. So remember, I'm telling you, it's an art, working with a coach. And they taught me a very clear storytelling structure. Sharia, when I learned the storytelling structure, it was game over.
Wow.
Speaking became fun. It became a playground. It became less stressful because now I had 2 structures that were double safety nets. It's like, when you have the flying trapeze artists, right? And they got the net down below. So they know if they got the net. That is what these 2 structures did for me. So I had a storytelling structure and I had a simple talk structure. Once that happened, I began to relax into speaking, because at every moment of my presentation, I knew where I was supposed to be. What it also allowed for me not to have to memorize.
That's a big one.
For me not to have to be in my head about what was next to say, because once I knew the structure, no matter what talk I was doing, I knew what was coming, right? And so that was a really key thing. And I'll tell you how powerful this structure is, but I'll just tell you a little story, because storytelling is what we do, right? So I'm going out to a presentation where one of my coaches, David, and I worked with David for 4 years around my speaking. I want people to grasp that, because I wanted to get good at it. And 4 years with David, some time with Les Brown, some time with another Robert, a gentleman by the name of Robert, and on and on and on. And so I've put in some time. So this is about probably my first, like my year 1 or 2. And I go out to see David, and he's presenting. And I'm in the audience and I'm excited because he's amazing, and I get to watch the craft.
Yeah.
In the middle of his presentation, Sharia, he sits down, grabs himself a cup of tea or coffee, sits back, and I'm thinking, what on earth is he doing? And then he says, I'm tired of training. I don't want to train anymore. And I'm looking at him going, what is he doing? He says, what if there's another trainer in the room? And then he looks at me and goes, Suzan.
Wow.
And I'm like, no. I am here to watch you. I am here to learn today. And he goes, oh yeah, you're going to learn. And he goes to the audience, wouldn't you love to see another trainer train? And I am mortified, right? Because now I'm having flashbacks of a very bad moment I'd had prior to.
Mm-hmm.
And so he tells me to take the stage, and he tells me I have 40 minutes with the audience. And I look at him and I'm like, okay. And now I've been working with him for months. I'm like, he wants to teach me something. And what I did was I said, oh, I have a talk structure. Let me just use it. And Sharia, I used the talk structure and it started to roll. Now, in the middle of using the talk structure at the very beginning, I got nervous. And I totally lost my train of thought. This was my second lesson. And I had the opportunity to pretend like all was good with the audience. And I just looked at the audience. I said, you know what? I just lost my train of thought. Can I start over again? And they all said yes. So I literally turned myself around in circles, like I was rewinding, and started again. Audience cheered, and I started again. So I learned 2 things. I learned that the talk structure worked perfectly because I was able to train for 40 minutes unprepared and deliver because I had content in me. And that's what he was trying to tell me. And the second thing was the audience didn't want me to be perfect. They wanted me to be real. And when I was able to say, I lost my train of thought, give me a moment, I was real. And they were like, yeah, I can do this. She's real. And so for me, it was being willing to be perfect. But the thing that David was trying to tell me is when authentic Suzan takes the stage, it is more powerful than crafted perfect Suzan. And I wasn't willing to get that until he did that.
Yeah.
Right.
And I love it, Suzan, because I see, the same things showing up. And I tell everyone, I'm so blessed and grateful to be able to work with you. So we're going to go back and peel back some layers of some of the things that you just discussed, right? But the first thing that I want to address is just the need to show up perfect. And so I know for myself, that was like the biggest thing. How will, the audience perceive me? Will they perceive me as the person, who knows my stuff? Right. And I know my stuff right now is not coming out my mouth because it's nervous. Right. But I know my stuff. And these are the things, right, that's running like through your head. And there's that pressure like to be perfect. And last Saturday when we had our episode, I actually shared like one of my embarrassing moments. I actually had another opportunity to attend my first speaker training. And I'm just going to say this, like 4 years ago, I did my first speaker training program. And I want everyone to get this. 4 years ago, I was not ready. Okay. Because how it showed up for me, like I delayed. I let everyone do their presentation. Yeah, because that's the thing, right? We all had the opportunity to work on our presentation and everything. And I did my presentation. I worked on it. I thought the presentation was fine. But my thing was, how do you get over the fear of being able to speak in public? And literally, I just kind of hung out in the back and I said, you know what? They're going to run out of time and no one is going to notice that I, did not give my presentation. And sure enough, at the end, they did not forget. And and literally they called me up to give my presentation, and I stood up in a room of about 20 people and I cried. Okay, that's how terrified I was of public speaking. Okay, and like, and I know some people could identify. And so what that did for me once again was kind of had me retreat back into myself and tell myself, hey, you know what, public speaking is not for me. Okay, I'm just going to continue to be the behind the scenes person. Okay.
Let me just jump in there, because
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners, consultants, coaches, authors who think public speaking is not for me because it's not what I do. I don't want to be a speaker. But this is what I've come to know, is that public speaking is how you get your craft, your business, your
Yeah.
service in front of enough people to attract clients. Public speaking is how an audience or your right client gets to know you in a very different way. They get to see the person behind the shingle, if you will, behind the brand, behind the whatever. That's what public speaking does. So every one of us, no matter what your profession or business is, and it's the number one skill of every successful person, is they have learned to speak in public,
Yeah.
right, in their own way. And I think what you're saying is, when we take the stage or sit in front of the camera and we want to be perfect, that is so much pressure.
Yeah.
It is so much pressure that it causes what you don't want, right? Because you're going to be imperfect anyway.
Mhm.
I guarantee you there's something that you're going to forget. There's something that you're going to need to say. There's something you're going to drop. You might need to sneeze. You might need to, like, all the stuff that happens. Guaranteed one of them is going to happen. So one of the things that David used to tell me is expect the unexpected
Mhm.
and give up my need to be perfect. And I'd be like, now I get it. Okay, expect the unexpected and give up my need to be perfect. And what that does, Tria, is it takes all the pressure off. And this is the beautiful thing. When we are so caught up, when I'm so caught up in being perfect, I actually can't drop into myself to find the content that I know.
Yeah.
Because I'm so in my head stuck in perfection that
Yes.
what I know I can't access it. When I give up the need to be perfect, what it allows for is for me to call forth what I already know. Because this is the thing, and I want to challenge everyone listening. When you are in front of your client and you're not concerned about the crowd and you're not concerned about being perfect, you're not depending on cue cards and notes to teach them what's in you. You're just doing what you do. Why? Because you know it, because it's your craft, because it's your calling, it's what you're called to do. So speaking is no different. The only thing is you need a structure to
Yes.
guide you so that you can call forth what you need to present in that moment. And that's why I tell people speaking is an art. And once you learn the craft, game over.
Yeah.
Game over.
And I love that you say that. So I do, would like to just kind of insert here, for those of you who are listening, right? And seriously, that this is like kind of like the apex where you are in your business, and this is the one hurdle that you need to get over. We have a special invitation for you, and the invitation is for you to join us on our magnetize and monetize the stage, the virtual stage, live training. And so we're doing, like I said, we did one on Wednesday, and we're doing another one again on Monday evening. Okay, so I do believe I have the link here, and I'll make sure that I post the link. But you could actually go to bit.ly/monetize the virtual stage. Okay, so once again, that's bit.ly/monetize the virtual stage. And this is so important, Susan, because we talk about the stages, we talk about big stages, whether they're virtual conferences that we're doing, live platforms. But I'm just going to go ahead and share. One of the things that I absolutely loved working with you, and what shifted in my business, is when I understood the power of having the talk template and the story template.
Mhm.
Okay. And I've noticed like the total shift in social media Saturdays, because that's what it used to be, right? I get on here and I would be so nervous, and people won't believe me when I say it, because people say it to me all the time. And but there's also an evolution too. I'll talk about the evolution a little bit, but people say to me all the time, oh my gosh, you look so comfortable, you look so relaxed, you don't look like you're nervous at all. Okay. And I remember the time where, oh my gosh, I literally would feel the butterflies. I would be
Yeah.
so nervous for a 10 o'clock Facebook Live. I'm up at 6 and I'm trying to prepare everything. And I'm trying to make sure that, once again, everything is what? Quote unquote perfect. And so until, I learned, to release and let go and let things flow. It doesn't have to be perfect, but what it's in me, things have started to change. I now have more fun on
Yeah,
social media
absolutely.
Saturdays. It's become more engaging. I have to say that I had definitely have more fun, because now I'm not in my head about all the things that I have to say. I'm willing to let conversations flow naturally, even if it's just on a Facebook Live. Okay, and so that's what I want. That's what I want everyone to get. Like when we talk about having the talk structure, we talk about utilizing the power of story. It's for everything that we do.
Mhm.
Everything, not just the big stages, but in everything that we do.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that you're touching on is, when you and I get caught up in perfection, we don't actually connect with the audience. And this is what I love about, so my style of speaking, I call it freestyle. And I looked at it after rappers who just generate on the spot, right? Because I think we all have the capacity to generate on the spot because
Yeah,
we have the information in us. But this is the interesting thing about great rappers, great comedians, great improv people, is they feed off their audience,
yeah,
right? They feed off their audience. So when you are not in your head and not committed to being perfect, but committed to being present, what ends up happening is someone will ask a question or make a comment, or you'll see something land in your audience, and it'll give you a clue about, this is a hot spot in this topic. I need to spend a little bit more time here. This in the room. I need to spend more time here, because remember I said it's not about us. We're
yeah.
facilitating a conversation. Now listen to the words I'm using. I'm not speaking at you. I am facilitating a conversation, and I'm feeding off what the audience is giving me. So I'm not attached to really what I came to say. I'm attached to what the audience needs me
You
to
came
say,
to get, yes.
right? And so that's the beauty of learning to present in such a way where the audience is the star, and your job is to make them shine. Your job is to make them receive what they want. For me, I've done a very great job when someone comes up to me and says, I feel like I know you, and I feel like you were in my head the whole presentation. I'm like, done my job.
I love it.
And sometimes I was like, yeah, I didn't present half the things I wanted to present. But if the audience feels like they know, I know them, and I was in their head, I'm like, I have done my job, because now I have engagement, and
Yeah.
that's what I came for. I
Well,
came for engagement and to deliver content that was valuable, not to me, but to the audience. So I'm going to prepare what I believe is valuable, but I'm going to give them what they tell me
right.
they need in
I
the
love
engagement.
I love it. I love it. And I see that there's some comments out here. And people are saying, I do believe this is Audrey, says, I'm used to hiding behind my computers. And someone actually says, oh my God, I remember, Taria, that's how I met you years ago, behind the scenes. Right. And that's how I was, just hiding behind the scenes. And I think I see Cindy out here this morning. And Cindy is saying, talk template and story template, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And Cindy's asking if we'll be discussing them in the live training. And Cindy, the answer to the question is yes. So you definitely want to make sure that you join us on Monday, September 21st. And I do believe that the link is actually scrolling across the screen. So you want to definitely make sure that you register for the live training. So one of the things that you talked about is actually being able to have like the talk template. Okay. And can I just ask you, what was the the thing behind of coming up with a talk template? Because I'm just going to be totally honest, I've never heard anyone talking about having a talk template before.
Mhm.
Okay, so usually with the speaker trainings that I've had the opportunity, to be a part of, it is literally designed, to teach you like how to sell
Mhm.
from the stage. Okay, which at some point we all need to learn how to do. But I became intrigued when I first heard you talk about the talk template. So just share with us a little bit more how you came across or how you came about putting together a talk template.
So Taria, this is a great question. This is like a money question, right? And I want to divide sales into two things. So sales is connecting and presenting. So most speaker programs, they teach you how to present and close, right?
Mhm.
How do you present and close? And while that is great, there's a key piece missing. And this is what I got from my coach. So I'll just tell you, David, who worked with me, this was someone who could consistently, I want you to get this, consistently close $100,000 in a training, consistently, right? And when he closed, I would barely see it. I'd be like, why are they running to the roof? Like, what is going on? And people are pulling out credit cards to purchase. But this was what he taught me that was so key. And this is where the talk template is so important. So remember, there's connecting and presenting.
Mhm.
And so you go, and most people, when they go to a course, they learn to present. But if you can't connect, this never happens. The presentation, the sale is really hard to have happen. So this is what we teach. We teach the art of connecting. And connecting is the process of being able to master the stage and have so much engagement that people buy you so that they can feel comfortable buying from you. And what happens is, for me, my first close in every presentation happens within the first 10 to 15 minutes. It's usually the first 10 minutes.
No, that's good.
Right? And though they say always be closing, and people think always be closing means always be selling your products.
Always be pitching. That's what
Always
it
be pitching.
means.
No.
Always be pitching.
So my first close is my connection with the audience. And what I mean by that is that the audience needs to know that I have sat in their shoes. I understand their pain. I understand their struggle. I understand what they're looking for. I have had a journey that is real enough that I can relate to them.
Yeah.
And when I talk about my journey to where I am, and I fill the gap with highs and lows, ups and downs, frustrations, failures, rise back up, what I'm doing for the audience is I'm giving them opportunities to connect with me. And that's why when people say, I felt like you were talking to me, you had me in the first 10 minutes. I'm like, yeah, done, right? So first sale is they have to buy me, because people buy from who they know they can trust,
Yes.
and who they believe they can relate to, and who can relate to them. If you're not doing that and you go right into presentation will more than likely not work, because they don't know you. But this is the other thing. For those of you who want to build a community, who want to build a tribe, who want to build a following, that happens because we follow people who we believe are like us. When I take the stage, I need to show the audience how much we have in common, how our journeys are similar, and how I can be the guide to get them to where they want to be. So that's what the talk template does. The talk template I know I believe it's Cindy that's asking, the talk template is your way of creating such a connection with the audience that when you go into presentation, all they're really checking now is that the stuff I need? I bought her if that's the stuff I need, right? Now, this is the interesting thing. I have presented and talked about one thing and had someone go, that's not the stuff I need, but that's my person,
Yeah.
right? And they'll come up and go, what else do you do? And they will come and buy something totally different
Totally different.
because
Yep.
they bought me, not that thing that I was on the stage doing today. So for me, if you can't connect, you can't sell. If you don't feel comfortable on stage and engaging an audience, the sale becomes a harder part. When you're able to connect, you can actually teach through the sales process, and people don't feel sold.
Yes.
They feel I'm looking for the word. They feel like you've given them such value that they can't help but engage, right? And you've seen the speakers who do the hard sell, and you're like, they've been selling me for 40 minutes. Oh my goodness, right? And then you see the presenters who you're like, I don't know why I'm pulling my card out, but I need to do this. I need this, right? And it's a different process. So part of it is that's why we do the talk templates. That's why they're so key. The
You
storytelling
know,
template, the talk template, and it's all to create engagement and
yeah.
connection.
It's so funny, and I just put in the comments because one of the things that you say that I love, and I definitely have to put this on a quote image for you, right? Is people buy you before they buy from you. Okay, so
Absolutely.
that's it. People buy you before they buy from you. But as you were just sharing that, one of the things that I noticed, and if anyone who's ever had the opportunity, to do any sorts of presentation, right? And there's a difference, like you say, from presenting and connecting. You do your presentation, and then when you get to your close, you automatically see either people get up and they leave the room because there's no connection, okay? Or if you're doing it online in the virtual space and you're watching your numbers, as soon as you start the ask for the sale, you kind of notice the numbers drop. Okay, and so it's just like wow, and it's such a thing. Like I said, people focus so much on the technicalities, like of the close, or I need to say this way, or I need to be perfect in this, and they think that that's the thing, and
Mhm.
it's not really the thing. It's the connection, because you'll have other people's, and I know you could identify with this, Suzanne. You've seen presentations where people have top influencers, right, have given presentations, and they have high end products, and you still don't know the what, or the how they do what they do. What you have enrolled into is their why they do what they do. The story
Absolutely.
is so powerful that it actually moves their audience to action. Okay, and like I
Absolutely.
said, I've seen it, right? I've been in the room with some of those people, like people like pulling out, I don't know what I'm buying, but I know that that's the person that I need to work with. And I've actually enrolled like that. That's the person that I need to work with. And even with you, and I tell people that all the time, when we first met and we got into conversation, it was amazing to me how much we connected, how much we had in alignment, and I said, you know what, this is my person. Now,
Yeah.
and I don't know what the picture looks like. I actually said it. I don't know what the picture looks like, but this is the person, that I am, hitching my wagon to.
And, and Tria, I'm so glad you said that. And I really want everyone to get this because we're talking about speaking, and we're talking about the virtual stage. We're talking about the big stage. We're talking about the live stage, all those different things. But I want you to also get that for me, a stage is Tria and I sitting down and talking. And,
Mm-hmm.
for anyone who spent time with me, I'm always selling, like all the time. I'm always selling. The problem, the interesting thing is most people don't know I'm selling because I have a storytelling structure. And I want you guys to get this. I have a storytelling structure that I use and listen for. And so when Tria or I are in conversation, I'm actually doing the connect. Remember I said you got to connect before you present. So I am doing connection in such a way that I want to show up as her guide. I want to show up as a person that, oh my gosh, this person knows me. Like I don't know what it is, but we need to collaborate. I had a gentleman, we sat down just a few weeks ago and we were sitting and we were connecting. And then at the end, he said, I don't know what you do, but I need to work with you.
Yeah.
Right. And he goes, because you're seeing things that I haven't been able to see. But what it is I'm listening for his stories.
Yeah.
I'm taking my opportunity to guide him out of the bottom of the story. And that's the story structure. And so for me, what I love about understanding the art, remember I said the art of speaking, the craft of speaking, is it allows you to connect everywhere. And what happens is you can always be in a sales process and the person will never feel sold, because connecting is more about listening and serving. Right? Listening and serving and actually getting into the world of the other person. And so you can do that nonstop all the time. And really all you're showing up is as a great person, a great friend, a great listener. And that's what actually is the first part. And my pet peeve, and I've said this before, is trainings that teach people how to sell and present.
Right.
Don't teach people how to speak. Because
Yes.
if you're not comfortable in connection, there's always a disconnect in the sales process. One of the reasons most people don't like selling is they've never been taught how to connect. And so if you can't connect, the sale always feels awkward.
Yeah.
It always feels contrite. It always feels out of place. It always feels just odd. Why? Because you haven't created a connection with that person. But once you learn the art of connecting, right?
Then it becomes easier.
It becomes easy. So
and more natural.
Absolutely. So my background, network marketing, 16, 18 years, something like that. And with my team, when I would teach the sales process, I would say to them, you're not allowed to talk about the product, your business, the company at all.
Wow, now that's different.
Right. Until you connect. And at first people look at me and go, well, what am I supposed to talk about? And I said, that's what we're going to train on. I said, because you're actually supposed to be in listening. And in listening and connection, you get to be to a place where people will tell you what they need from you. Like they'll actually just say, if I could find this, I need this, I want this, I'm looking for this. If you do that part, storytelling, listening, getting that connection well done, then you do not talk. And when I learned sales, the person who taught me said, do not present your product, do not make an offer until someone rises up and asks for it.
Right.
And I was like, whoa, that's a long wait. No, it's not. People tell us what they want all the time. And the problem is most of us are so busy presenting what we think they need that we miss what they want.
Yes. I love it. Deborah's out there saying that she's looking forward to the training. It's all new to her. So yes, Deborah, we are looking forward to seeing you on the training as well. And I think Cindy says yes, she's ready. She's registered. So looking forward to seeing you on the training as well, Cindy. So Suzan, one of the things in the last few minutes that we have that I wanted to have you share with our superstars here today is one of the big questions that I get all the time is, what story do I tell? Okay, so what story do I tell and how do I relate that story to my business? And like I said, I did for the whole month, we've been polling inside of our social media Saturdays community, and that has been like the biggest question that we got inside of the community. So I thought I'd ask you here on our broadcast today.
That's a great question. And most people don't think they have a story, because usually when we talk about storytelling, people think they had to have had a past life experience, they have to have walked on water, they've had to have something so huge happen in their life that that people are like, oh my goodness, this is such a great story. And I'll say to you, no, that's not really what happens. So the story that you tell is the story that gives the audience an insight into your journey. The
Mm,
story that you tell is a story that tells people the challenges, the work, the transformations, the person you had to become to get where you are. I go, it's the story of victim to hero that
yes.
makes you credible to your audience. And it's not often a big story. Like my story for speaking is moving from the little girl who stopped talking basically because she was embarrassed by a teacher because of the color of her skin and her accent, and went 30 some years without ever speaking in public,
Mhm.
to speaking to 5,000, an audience of 5,000 people, commanding the stage and getting a standing ovation that almost knocked me over. The energy was so powerful, right? I tell that story now. That story says, this is where I was. This was the tears, the fears, the upside, and I share all these things.
Yeah.
I also share the struggles I still have today when I take the stage, the fears that I still take the stage with today. And what that story does is it takes the audience on a real journey of a real person who had to go through growth, change, transformation, overcome fears, overcome challenges to get there. And then I can turn around and say, see, I do know how to get you there. Why?
Yeah.
Because I walked the journey that you're about to go on. And I am qualified now to be the guide that takes you. And so we find that story. And what happens is most people take the stage and they think their bio is the story of their story,
Yeah.
right? So they tell people about the degrees and the accolades and the this and the that. That is only useful in the context of the journey,
Right.
right? If you don't talk about the personal journey, you're not connecting with your audience. So what story does is it allows you to brag on yourself. I tell
Mhm.
people it allows you to get braggadocious for those of you from the islands, right? Allows you to brag on yourself without sounding like your ego's too big, because you're going to do it in such a way where it's so real, so human, so that people are like, I get that. She's talking to me. That's who I am. That's the story you want to tell. And it's simple stories, right? It's simple stories. It's the story of a loss of a dream. It's the story of finding yourself. It's the story of struggle. I have a story of going from financially upside down to financially right side up. It's the story of the average middle class person who's busy keeping
Yeah.
up with the Joneses and looking good. And the day I gave that up, right? I have one of those stories. That story has made me millions. I just want you to get that. That story's made me millions. It's one story, but in that story,
Yeah.
probably half the population goes, that's me. So we're looking for the stories that convey that. And I'll tell most people it's often the most unlikely story, one. It's
Yeah.
often the story that makes you feel most vulnerable when you find it because you don't want anybody to know. That's the story. It's often the story that you think, what? That story? Yes. It's often the story that had you find a story
Mhm.
you take for granted
Yep.
that the world needs, right? It's a story that had you learn so many lessons that you might be embarrassed to say all the lessons you had to learn.
Yeah.
The reason my story from financially upside down to right side up works is because there was so much I had to take responsibility for and learn about myself
Oh my
that
gosh.
makes it so real. And I'm willing to tell that to the audience. Why? Because I know 80% of that audience is me, right? Remember, I said my goal is to connect with you.
Yeah.
Those are the stories we're called to tell.
Yeah, I love it, and I'm just sitting here, just smiling because that was the key thing that I was missing. right? And being able to be vulnerable enough, to share those stories and open up with those stories, and have those stories not just like on the big stage or whatever, but have it in everyday, conversations,
Yeah.
building connections, even when I'm here on social media Saturdays, right? And I look at, my superstars, and the reason why the superstars are here is because they want to know how to leverage the power of social media in the business. Like, how do you actually make social media work,
Right.
right? And I could identify with that because there was a point where I was just like, oh my gosh, how is it working for everyone and it's not working for me? Okay, like, I know this stuff, I've done this stuff countless times for others, but why isn't it being reflected in my brand? And I love what you said, Suzanne, about the growth, right? And the transformation, and you being able to be the guide. And I think that that's what it is that sometimes a lot of people miss. I definitely miss. I've never heard that or understood that until I started to work with you, right?
Mhm.
So it's that thing where you want to show up, you want to be perfect, and you think it's that perfection is what's going to attract your perfect clients to you, or you think like it's just talking about the what you do, and how you do what you do is what draws your right the right people to you, or what separates you from your competitors. And it's not it. What people are looking for, they're looking, okay, to see, is she the person, or is he the person, are you the
Yeah.
person that could take me from where I am now to where I desire to be. And
Yeah.
a lot of times, and I'm just going to say this, we're talking about speaking, but I have to bring it back to social media, right? And so a lot of times people are watching the journey, they're watching the story play out. So social media is like the storyboard, and
That's
that's
right.
why I am encouraging all my superstars who are out there, and you're still hiding on social media. And when I say you're hiding, you're only promoting your products and your services. That's the only time people see you, or you put up just a quote, right? And let me just say this, there's nothing wrong with quotes, right? There's nothing wrong with quotes, but how about giving people, or your audience, an insight, your story behind why you chose that quote today?
Mhm.
Okay, so why is that thing important to you? How are you building the connection, right? And until I learned that I had to be vulnerable, and all of the experience that I've had are only lessons for me to learn, to share with others, to help them on their journey, things started to shift and turn around for me.
And what
Okay.
you're really talking to Sharia is about that why, right? And when we
Mhm.
talk about the why, people, when people know why, they'll care about what. When we're talking about the why, it is a why are you their person? And I
Yeah.
want you to think of, there's a sea of, real estate agents, there's a sea of coaches, there's a sea of consultants, there's a sea of all these different people. And they're really asking why you versus someone else who does what you do. And the why is what story gives them. Because
Yeah.
really what you're saying is, this is my me only. My journey, my walk, my rise from the fall, that's my me only. That
Yes.
is why I'm uniquely crafted for a small group of people because of my walk. That's really what we're saying.
Yeah.
I think I think the other thing that's really, really key is that, we're talking social media, and I want to talk about video for a moment.
Hmm.
Most of us get real comfortable posting and writing, but when you put on the camera, I remember when I was like, but I can't see nobody. But put on the camera and let people see you, whether it be three
Yeah.
minutes, whether it be 5 minutes, those sorts of things. It does so much, because remember, people have to buy you before they buy from you.
Yeah.
So it's that little snippet of teaching plus story, teaching plus story. So I wanted just to give everybody an idea of how powerful this is, right? So Most people who hire me who I do not know, they hire me because they've either heard from me, I posted something, they saw something, they saw a story, and this is what they do next. They go, let me find some videos. And
Mm.
they find my videos, and they go on a video blitz, if you will, right? And what they're doing is they're not only looking for what I do, they're looking for why I do what I do. And they may not be aware of it. They're looking for my way of being. They're looking to see how I connect, how I make them feel. And I'll give you a great example. So recently I got a connection with a police chief. Now, when police chiefs connect with me, I'm like, why are you talking to me? I'm not, sir. You're making me nervous already. Right? So I get invited into a meeting. And the first thing the police chief says to me is, I feel like I know you. And I was like, in my head going, I hope that's a good thing. And then he said to me, I have been on your social media. I have watched like 20 of your videos.
Mm.
And I was like, wow. But this is what he said next. He said, I believe our officers will connect with you because of how you show up.
Yeah.
There's nothing about what I do that can give him that. But the videos, because I'm willing to be vulnerable, I'm willing to be transparent, I'm willing to tell stories, I'm willing to be myself, I'm willing to show up in my own way of being, says to him, she is the person.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I, at this point, don't even know why I'm there or what they're asking me to do. All I know is I've been invited to this meeting. Isn't that interesting?
Yep. That's very powerful.
That is the power of our social media when we put out content that represents our heart and who we are and what we're committed to in the world, what's important to us, why are we passionate about certain things. That's the stuff that creates the connection that provides the opportunity for the presentation and then the sale.
I love it. I love it. Wow. We have a question from one of our superstars. And the question, and this is also another big question that I get all the time. When do you tell the story? So the first question was, what story do you tell? Do you have a story, and what story you tell? But when do you tell the story? So the question is, can a story be a work in progress?
Wow, that's a great question. So I'm gonna answer when you tell the story. Then I'm gonna go to the second piece. So when do you tell the story? So in a presentation, stories create connections, and stories can't create connections because they paint pictures that take us on a journey. So I usually open with story, right? So before I say anything, I'm usually going to drop a story. And so it's almost like the audience gets taken into my world like the moment I take the stage.
Yeah.
And so what I'm going for is I'm going for a feeling that we've connected. And usually somewhere in the middle of my story, I get to the place where it feels like the audience has stopped breathing and they lean in and I go, okay, I've been bought, we're good, right? So I usually do a story at the very beginning of my presentation. Throughout my presentation, I drop deeper sections of that story to bring home some lessons that I'm going to teach throughout the day. So that's the thing. Because before I can start presenting, I have to close the room. They have to buy it, right? Then I can go into teaching, but I'm going to bring teaching always back to the story, back to the story, back to the story. So that's the first thing. Can you use a story that's in progress? Yes, you can. But this is the caveat I want you to tell you. The story that you use must have transformation in it. And what I mean by transformation is that you have to have come out the other side of something. So you're showing that there was a challenge. I was struggling. I was having a hard time. I learned these lessons and I grew, I transformed, I had a paradigm shift. And now I am in a position where I have learned some lessons that have moved me to a new place, allowed me to look at things differently, had me take new responsibilities, had me show up differently. And I'm here to teach you what I learned. So, and that could be just one step and you're still in the next phase of your journey. What you can't do is tell a story that has you still the victim and you haven't risen yet. Because what'll happen is when you bring the audience down to where you're the victim and you leave them there, they will never engage you because they're feeling sorry for you. They'll never engage you because you haven't finished the story. The best example I'll give you, how many of you watched a movie and it has ended and you're mad? What ending is that? Right. And we're like, what kind of ending is that? Where's the rest of the story?
Yeah.
What happened? And you're like, what is wrong with that person who wrote that? Because the story leaves you incomplete. And the story does not leave you feeling empowered.
Yes.
Right? And so what you don't want to do is leave your audience in this incomplete place, because then they're just frustrated. They want the rest of the story. Yeah. So you've got to tell the story that has a completion happen. So the audience goes, oh,
yes,
that was so cool. I am so moved. I see it. I didn't understand that before. I got it. That's the story you tell. And it could be a story that's still unfolding. And I tell people, I teach storytelling and speaking. I've been in this story for a number of years. It's still unfolding. Mm-hmm. I teach the story of becoming an entrepreneur, moving from working from someone to working for yourself. People who work with me know that my story is always evolving because there's always something new that I've learned. There's always a new lesson. There's always a new challenge that I've overcome that I got to go teach about. Because, oh my gosh, if I need to know this, and I've struggled with this, guaranteed the clients who I work with are going to see this struggle. I'm going to go teach it. So it's always unfolding, absolutely. And now, do you guys see how content is everywhere now? Like when
everywhere.
People ask me, how do you have so much content? I'm in the journey of growth, transformation, and learning. I just get to write about what I didn't know and the struggle to figuring it out and the transformation that has got me to this new place.
Wow.
Content everywhere.
Well, thank you for backing me up on that, because I tell my superstars all the time, right? The content is everywhere. There's no such thing as not having content. Okay, so thank you for backing me. Content is everywhere. Wow, Suzan, this has been absolutely amazing. I want to just thank you, for taking the time to bless us this morning with your knowledge, your expertise. I know even though we're in conversation, all the time, whenever we speak, I'm still hanging, on every word of the story. And so I see that we have some comments. People are saying that they're joining us on Monday for the live training. And so, yes, if you have not registered as yet, the ticker is going across the screen with the link. So once again, you could go to bit.ly, which is bit.ly/monetize the virtual stage. And we are doing the live training Monday, September 21st at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So this training is not going to be broadcasted live on Facebook. So I know you guys get accustomed to, us doing Facebook Lives, but this is a private register only training. So if you know that this is where you need to help, like I can't stress it enough, because it's absolutely the thing that has shifted in my business. So if you know that this is what you need, join us, for the training. And someone is out there saying, I need to learn not to leave people in the mess. So thank you, Suzan, for clearing that up. You tell the story, and the story that you tell is the story where you have come through the mess and you have a transformation and you're sharing your lessons with others.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
And you know what? I'm so excited for those of you, and I'm trusting that all of you are going to join us on Monday, because we're gonna give you a deeper understanding of storytelling. that you will be like, I need to learn this. Like when I began to understand this, I was like, why doesn't everybody know this?
Yeah.
This is such a game-changing tool. And it's a game-changing tool that anybody can master because we're all living. We're all creating stories. And I love Diane Smith says pivot.
Yes.
Absolutely. This is a perfect pivot tool that everybody can have because we have virtual platforms everywhere. We've got Facebook, we've got Instagram, we've got YouTube, we've got Zoom. And this is like, don't wait for anyone to invite you to their stage. Create your
Create your own stage.
right? That's one. The second thing I want you to think about is the story I told about the police chief who went through my videos. That's because I've mustered up the courage to
Yeah.
do video after video after video. You know, we drop 1 to 2 videos a week. So if you go to my page, you can get a glimpse of Suzan and what she does. Wouldn't it be fun to know the techniques to be able to begin to start building your video library just because you have a new skill?
So it's interesting, and I'm gonna wrap it with this, right? Like, how cool would it be to have people binge watch you?
Yeah.
So we're accustomed of going ahead and binge watching, right? Other videos and all of that stuff, movies, episodes. But wouldn't it be great, to actually, like you said, build your video library in such a way that people are just hooked and they can't get enough and they just sit and they just binge watch. Okay, so I love it.
Hashtag binge watch.
Hashtag binge watch. All right, superstars, we are going to wrap it up. Thank you once again for joining us on another amazing episode of Social Media Saturdays. Once again, if you have not, if this is the first time tuning into Social Media Saturdays, you want to make sure that you go ahead and give a like on the page and then follow. You want to like and follow so when we do our Social Media Saturdays episodes every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, you'll be able to get your notifications. And we also have our Social Media Saturdays community, which is Social Media Saturdays, helping you to serve, share, and shine. And this is the place where you could ask your questions during the week. So you don't have to wait until we connect on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Join the community if you are not a member of the community as yet. Now, we are also on Instagram, so you could follow us on IG at Watch SMS Live. You could follow us on Twitter at Watch SMS Live. And for those of you who are networking on LinkedIn and you would like to connect there, you could connect with us. You could connect with me on LinkedIn at Taria Hodge. And Suzan, just go ahead and let the audience know, let our superstars know how they could connect with you as well.
Absolutely. So, of course, right here on Facebook, we have the Fit, Fab, and Fulfilled Facebook group where you can connect with us there. And it is Suzan Hart. We are on Instagram at Suzan.Hart. We are also on LinkedIn. It is always Suzan Hart Mindset Mastery. And of course, you can connect with us in real time on Monday. So I'm looking forward to seeing you. If you want to communicate with me directly, you can email me at Suzan@SuzanHart.com.
Love it. All right. Well, thank you, superstars. Take care. Till next time. Bye-bye.